Go ahead.
So there's this whole bunch of crazy, amazing initiatives going on in the planet, and with really great, smart, heartful people working on them, but taking the culture that they're familiar with and they know that's not aligned with what they're trying to create. And so it's holding things back, either from the level that they won't make it because when it hits hurdles, because anything that you're going to be doing that's dealing with the real complexity out there has to be able to figure out how really to collaborate when the going gets tough, right? So it's going to hold it back from either succeeding or reaching its full potential. So that it can be derailed or just, under succeed or under impact. And if we don't crack the nut on the culture, like the way we work from that human complexity with each other in a way that looks at fairness and more egalitarian consciousness and more equity in the world, uh, I just don't think all that amazing energy and initiatives are going to take us to the place where we were hoping they're going to take us. And so I think dealing like the notion of practice fields is like elevating that we see, which is so invisible, right? And making it visible and naming it, and then providing tools and methods and community and support for that whole ecosystem to see itself and grow. And the reason why it needs to see itself and grow is so that all those the great initiatives moving forward, they can actually be in their potential. I don't know. What do you think?
I think yes, and something that's really strong for me at the minute is, I think when you first started speaking, Samantha, what was coming up for me is what's the alternative narrative, and whose job is it to build that? But then the other thing that's also been really strong for me recently is the whole idea of agency. I was on one of our Australian programs last night, and even humans that are interested in less hierarchical ways of working still are choosing not to believe that workers have a brain, and if we create the conditions to enable everybody to use their agency and make decisions, that's, I think, what's going to accelerate and unlock things. I think that it has to come down to the actual individual human level, and how do we, because the example Doug Kirkpatrick came on the call and he was talking about the seasonal workers at Morningstar, and how they all self-organize into teams, and they're all responsible for their shifts. If you can't do your shift, it's your responsibility to call your workmates and find somebody to cover. If you don't show up, it's absolutely within the remit of your workmates to ask you to leave the team or ask you to leave the organization. And that was just so earth-shattering to the participants on the calls. Like how could any worker have that power? It just does not compute with people that are used to working in hierarchies and used to having power over, to even imagine that. And it's not perfect, but like Doug says, they've got 4,000 humans that come and frickin' pack and sort tomatoes every year. And there's no bosses. So how do we at the same time invite every human on the planet to express their agency around decisions that impact their work, and create that safety, for lack of a better word, for the humans that are used to being in control to be liberated by that.
That's beautifully put.
I don't know if that's a theory of change or narrative or something that somebody would buy, though.
I mean, it's the real underlying obstacle that we're facing.
Yeah,
You're naming it.
It's a competing, our underlying competing commitment around our immunity to change, right? I mean, I can't put myself in the body of a 35-year-old Filipina who has maybe 2 years of high school, and figure out how to create the conditions for her to feel confident having agency around her decisions. But I probably can put myself in the position of a 45-year-old dude who has been following the corporate rules all of his life, and the stories that he's been told and that he's self-reinforced around workers being able to make good decisions. I don't know, and I can't really do either, but I don't know what that was all about. And just, I have got about 7 more minutes, sorry.
And I mean, I guess the theory of change is like, can we name it at a high level? And then we're saying, and within that theory of change, our hypothesis is that the practice field is going to have a particular impact.
I think it's great. I mean, I think our fundamental theory of change is that you can't do this stuff without practicing it. It's pretty simple, right? You can't read it in a book and then you can't figure out how to do this stuff from a book. It takes practice. Just like you can't learn how to play hockey out of a book. Even maybe, there's so many things you need to do. You need to put your skates on. You need to get the right skates. You need to understand how to lace them. You need to figure out how to, skate without falling on your ass. You need to pick up the stick. You need to figure out how to watch the ball and the stick at the same time. You need nothing that we learn, nothing that we can learn to embodiment, whether it be a physical activity or a way of being activity, is something that you can do on the first go.
No.
And it's not something that falls into that simple category in Cynefin that is repeatable, because this is complexity, right?
Totally. No.
And even when you learn all of those different elements, like the right skates, the condition of the ice, how fast you can go, what you wear, where the puck is, what you're looking at, there's myriad combinations. There's millions and millions of combinations that are going to come at you at any one time of all of those elements. So how do you react? Practice, every day, practice.
Then you get to see the patterns, and you get your reflexes and your habits.
Yeah,
and they
some of it
grow
becomes,
and they grow and they grow, and
totally.
then you can get to the next level. And
some of it becomes muscle memory, and that's the beautiful thing, right? When you don't have to worry that you're going to fall on your ass when you step on the ice.
Yeah. I think that's it. Like, you've named it perfectly. Our theory of change can't do the stuff without practice. And so we can name well, we've named the problem from two angles right there, right? And I mean, I think naming it from two angles is perfectly great. And either way, the notion of practice comes into both of them. And then I think people would challenge us. I mean, I know McConnell would challenge us and say, okay, so with a theory of change, you have to be able to say that if you do these things within the next year, this is a little bit of the linear thinking that comes into it. You do these things within the next year, how is this going to be creating the conditions for some of that change to be happening?
So I guess this is what we're starting to measure, right? So like the idea that the team that I started with last week is doing the diagnostic as their starting position. And as they're doing and choosing the practices, I think that I think many things will emerge. I think that the most popular practices will emerge, like the most popular starting position practices will emerge. I just wanted to share one thing with you quickly. This is fascinating.
Yeah, because the real theory of change is also an iterative process. Huh? I mean, many people think you get your theory of change, then you apply it, and then it becomes linear. Like you apply it, then things will happen as you think they will happen. But if you read the literature, it's really on iteration.
So this is really interesting. So basically in the co-creation session, I offered up, we've got 5 months together. There's heaps of stuff we can do. Let's just get a sense of what's most important. So it's fascinating. I thought this was fascinating. So decision making is highest, but look here. Personal practices are still pretty high. Personal practices above governance and recruitment, onboarding, and conflict resolution. I thought that was quite beautiful.
What is the other one? Self-management.
Commitment and accountability. So specifically self-management. How do we make commitments and keep keep commitments to each other? I don't know, like Future for Competencies is more around the HR stuff. So not very many recruitment and onboarding that they don't want to waste their time on this. And these are all founders. So it's
all founders?
Yeah. Or CEOs. If they weren't the actual founder source, they're on the top of the tree now. So anyway, I just thought that was fascinating.
And this list was created by them or you?
Me. I just threw up whatever I was thinking of.
Cool. It's really interesting.
If we get data in,
exactly,
then we can adapt even the maps, if need be, to the data that comes in. Yeah.
So we're absolutely anthropologists, right?
Completely. What you're doing is you're listening to the field.
Correct.
In the field, it's like we can listen way wider than we usually listen because we're going to be using technology.
Yeah, and it's action research. It's through the action that we learn and feed it back to the system, so the whole thing gets more ripples out.
And sees itself and grows.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Strengthens and wow, that's really sounding clear.
Sounding something.
And I feel like it feels so so right, because it feels so not completely clear to me, but like clear in the moment that starting to do the work, it's through doing the work that what we need to be paying attention to emerges, or what the opportunities for helping the ecosystem see itself grow are emerging. So it's through our actual practice. We could have spent fucking, I don't know, 200 hours on Zoom calls, gazing at each other's navels and talking the shit that we talk. But it's only through the practice, maybe, that we're actually landing on the real stuff.
Yes, it is the only way. Because
Although that's not to diminish what we do here together, because this is also...
No, but that's the sense making, right? And that's part of it, is you're practicing and your sense making. And so we come together and we always are just like, okay, what's going on? I mean, like, I never got the link between Ruben's agency and personal leadership as a 15-year-old and this work until talking with the two of you. And why I'm waking up to it every morning, like at 5 a.m. It's like, really, it's like, and it's like you say, Susan, like that challenge of how do you take somebody who's in a place of disempowerment in their minds, and they don't feel this capacity to, like, they can't even see the notion.
Exactly. Never occurs. Just never occurs.
What are the things you can do to reveal it and grow it?
I've got people waiting on me. I'm really sorry.
You have to go. It's good. It's good. I have to go too.
Love you guys. I'll put the recording in the thing, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, Rhea.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right.
Yep.
Have a good time.
Bye.
Bye.